Sophie Cunningham says CBA negotiations are dumb, dumb, dumb. And she's not wrong. Hey, family, this is Racer. Please like, comment, and subscribe. We need to keep this discussion going. All right, family, let's get into it. All right, so Sophie's honesty. It hits hard. It does. The WNBA, CBA negotiations are still at an impasse. And Sophie Cunningham said what needed to be said. All right. And she said this on her podcast. Our CBA is so dumb right now. It's headed toward a lockout. Good thing Sophie doesn't have a filter, because we needed that type of honesty, right? And guess what? A lot of people, fans, owners, some people in the media, some of the players, they agree. Because what Sophie was really saying is this, is that these negotiations are drifting toward a nuclear outcome that benefits nobody. And when your allies start side-eyeing you, right, you see the eyes kind of, you start seeing that, you gotta have the ability to read the room. That's a problem. Because according to Awful Announcing, Rebecca Lobo, WNBA star, or former WNBA star, and sports broadcaster on A Touch More podcast, she says this: some of the rhetoric I've heard from their side, meaning the WNBA PA, has been a little bit troublesome, right? So in other words, she's telling the players that your messaging is off, your tone is off, and you're losing public support. I'm surprised she said it. Very surprising. But she went even further. She didn't stop there. And we know Rebecca Lobo, she normally don't, wander off the reservation. If she does, she always comes back. So, but she did go on to say this: when a deal is presented that includes $1 million max salary and revenue sharing, and it's called a slap in the face, I worry that the players may start losing public support. That's the truth. She's not lying. It matters, especially for these ladies in the CBA negotiation, because public support is their leverage. And when you add this, oh man, this right here is, Marcellus Wiley, he said something that, on his podcast that was, explosive, right? Former NFL player, sports commentator, Marcellus Wiley, graduate of Columbia University. He said on his podcast that he spoke with a 9-year veteran of the WNBA from the Seattle Storm who played basketball for Duke, who told him players should sign the deal. Wow. He didn't name who it was. It's not difficult to figure it out. All you got to do is just pull up the Seattle Storm roster, and you can see that it was Lexie Brown, right? And that's important context, because Lexie Brown is not just a veteran. She's also the chair of Athletes Unlimited. It's a league where many of the WNBA players play. Well, I won't say many, but some of them do. And she understands both the player side and the business side of professional sports, because her and her father, D. Brown, basically run that league. So when you have voices like hers say, take the deal, it tells me something, right? And it should tell us all something, that there are fractures that are real amongst the players. Not everyone agreed with the negotiating posture of the WNBA PA, right? And you got players who are giving a side eye to those who are doing the negotiations. So if the WNBA PA don't have player unity and they start losing fans, they lose leverage. They do. And then when you think about the owners and the fact that they did not respond to the players' counter proposal that's been out there for a few weeks, I mean, that silence is deafening, right? And that's a message. The owners are done. They are tired of the WNBA PA playing with them. And what's wild, a lot of new fans, they understand why. And we know who most of those new fans are. They're CC fans. So if the players are going to need fans to be on their side in these negotiations, they don't have that. They don't have the majority of the fans. The majority of the fans are CC fans. She brought the millions. And so when you look at it that way, right? If you can't win the fans, good luck on selling that strike. Good luck on selling that lockout. If the owners lock you out and you saying, oh, the owners are racist. The owners are not valuing us. The owners this and the owners that. Good luck with selling the fans on that. Good luck with that, right? And then when you think about the fact that Sophie Cunningham, she called the negotiations dumb, and you got Lexie Brown saying that we need to sign the deal, then good luck with selling that solidarity thing, because you're not solid, right? So ladies, understand this. I don't know if any of these ladies are going to see my video, but I hope they do. Understand this. Reading the room is a skill. And it's missing in the WNBA PA room. Y'all don't have it. Somebody in that room don't have that skill, right? A lot of these players that are doing the negotiations are in their late 20s, early to mid 30s. They are talented, but they're still learning how power and negotiations work, right? And they're confusing the momentum of the league, which Caitlin Clark brought, with leverage, right? And I'm gonna tell you young people something, and I hope y'all learn this lesson from me. If you listen, life has a brutal way of teaching lessons, right? Sometimes it can cost you millions of dollars or cost you money. Sometimes it can cost you a job. Sometimes it can cost you your freedom. Sometimes it can cost you your life. So for me, the reason why these negotiations are headed to a dangerous place is because when you read the article from ESPN and it says that the WNBA PA proposal is calling for 30% of the gross revenue and $10.5 million salary cap, that will result in $700 million in losses over the life of the deal for the owners. That is more than the combined losses of the league's first 29 years. Let that sink in, right? The owners have already lost close to $300 million. Now you want them to lose another $700 million, which is almost $1 billion. That's not sustainable. You want them to lose more money. You want them to double, almost triple their losses in 4 years. And then you're going to have another CBA right behind that where you're going to have even more asks, right? You're going to ask for more money, more this, more that. Man, that's financial suicide for the owners, and they're not going to do it, right? And where it gets tenuous is when you talk about the expansion fees, right? A lot of these franchises are getting they cost $250 million. Right? So the players consider those expansion fees real money and that they deserve a cut. Since you're not giving them a cut, you need to give us 30% of the gross revenue because you got money over there. But the owners says that we don't use that money for that. We don't use it for payroll. We use it for growth, right? And from an owner's perspective, expansion fees pay for league investment, facilities, marketing, infrastructure, and long-term value creation, right? I understand the union's perspective. They say it's basketball-related income, BRI, and they should help to increase their salaries right now. But here's the truth. Expansion fees do not directly pay player salaries. they raised the future ceilings for players in future CBA negotiations because of the reinvestment of the money. That's how every major sports league operates. So, in my opinion, Sophie was right. And what she said needed to be said, even if it was a Freudian slip, right? But she's not lying. The players' demands don't match the math for the owners. It just doesn't for them, right? That's why these negotiations are going off the rails, or have gone off the rails. That's why fans, some of the players, they questioning it. They questioning how the players are handling the negotiations. And that's understandable. And that's why owners are not responding to that counter offer. They're done. They tired of the PA playing with them. Man, stop playing with me. Get your hands out of my pocket. So, bottom line, things or the negotiations is getting nuclear. It's headed in that direction. One of the sides are about to press the button. Somebody about to strike. Somebody about to do somebody about to lock the players out. But you got to keep this in mind. When players lose public support, when owners lose, patience, when momentum starts slipping, when there are fractures amongst the players, things break fast. And I think that what Sophie did and what Lexie Brown did will save the WNBA season. This is the racer. I said what I said and I stand on it. Please like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. Be blessed.